Pharmaceutical and Medical Supply Corporation Limited, Dr. Shah Mahir, states to combat the ongoing issue of antibiotic resistance, the entire range of antibiotics must be made available within the country, and efforts to secure this comprehensive inventory have now commenced. The corporation prioritizes the uninterrupted availability of approximately 1,200 essential medicines. Shah noted upon achieving this stabilization, officials intend to refine the drug list by identifying medications most frequently prescribed by physicians. He observed antibiotic resistance represents a significant global crisis, compelling the nation to secure access to every class of antibiotic. Addressing supply chain deficiencies, the corporation has initiated consultations with physicians at island health centers to determine local requirements. Dr. Shah asserted stocking these commonly utilized treatments locally will ensure availability while minimizing waste. He concluded the ultimate objective remains ensuring that every medication prescribed is reliably accessible through hospital pharmacies. According to the office's monthly performance statistics, the Prosecutor General's office referred 265 cases for prosecution in June. This is a slight increase compared with the 263 cases submitted to the courts for prosecution in May. The PG office has published its performance statistics for June. According to the report, the number of new cases received by the office increased by 59.4% compared with the previous month. The office received 228 cases in June, up from 143 cases in May. The largest increase during June was the provision of legal advice to investigative authorities, also referred to as duty prosecution. While the PG office provided legal advice in 447 cases in May, that figure rose to 683 cases in June, representing an increase of 52.7%. In addition, the PG office decided to prosecute and submit 265 cases to the courts during June. The office's statistics shows that 263 cases had been submitted for prosecution in May. Alongside the rise in prosecutions, the number of court hearings attended by prosecutors also increased. Prosecutors attended hearings in 1,207 cases during June, compared with 1,150 cases in May. The Prosecutor General's office said it continues to strengthen and streamline its work to improve efficiency and speed up the prosecution process. As part of the efforts, the office has established dedicated prosecution teams to provide greater support to investigative agencies in certain types of cases. It is also working closely with relevant authorities to remove obstacles that delay cases from being submitted for prosecution. The development of a children's park in Kendikuludu, Nuno Atoll, is completed. The park was one of the pledges made by President Dr. Mohamed Moise during his visit to Kendikuludu in July last year. Residents have welcomed the completion of the project, describing it as a significant improvement that will enhance the island's community life. According to the Road Development Corporation (RDC), the project was carried out under the government's Public Sector Investment Program (PSIP), and all construction work has now been completed. Speaking to PSM News, RDC said the new park will provide children and families with a safe and enjoyable recreational space where they can spend their leisure time. The corporation also revealed that the project cost a total of $27,166.88. The agreement for the project was signed on 29th March 2024. The works include landscaping, hardscaping, and the installation of playground equipment. The park has been developed in the Kurdu district of Kendikuludu. Kendikuludu was formerly made up of two separate islands, Kurdu and Kendikolu. During the administration of former President Mohamed Nasheed, the two settlements were officially merged into a single island under the name Kendikuludu, as they occupy the same landmass. Maldives Zakat House estimates that this year's total Zakat al-Mal collections will exceed the record set last year, which amounted to 10.99 million US dollars. A record 6.94 million US dollars was collected as Zakat al-Mal last year. Speaking on PSM News Raj Med program, Zakat House Director General Sheikh Imtithau Abbas said collections received so far this year have increased compared with the same period last year. If the current trend continues, he said total Zakat al-Mal collections for the year are expected to surpass last year's record. Imtithau said that by the end of the last month, nearly 5.19 million US dollars had been collected in Zakat al-Mal. He noted that this represented a 100% increase compared with June last year. According to the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority MIRA's financial report for June, Zakat al-Mal collections during the month totaled approximately 1.37 million US dollars. This was double the approximately 687,000 US dollars collected in June last year, representing a 100% increase. Zakat al-Mal is a religious obligation payable by Muslims whose wealth has remained above the prescribed nisab threshold for one full lunar year. It may be paid on any day of the year once the obligation falls due. According to provisional figures, the state had received approximately 5.16 million US dollars in Zakat al-Mal so far this year. During the corresponding period last year, collections stood at approximately 3.99 million US dollars, marking an increase of 29%. The current nisab, or otherwise known as a minimum wealth threshold at which Zakat al-Mal becomes obligatory, is calculated based on 595 grams of silver at a rate of approximately 2.38 US dollars per gram, giving a threshold of approximately 1,416.12 US dollars. Uber launches a public takeover offer for Delivery Hero that values the German food delivery company at 14.8 billion US dollars and would create the world's largest food delivery firm outside China.
The acquisition advances the US ride-hailing firm's efforts to build a global presence in the food delivery business as it faces intensifying competition from rivals such as DoorDash, which has been expanding aggressively abroad. The companies said in a joint statement the transaction would create a platform spanning 99 countries with combined pro forma gross merchandise value of 236 billion US dollars in 2025. Uber, which has made the acquisition conditional on a minimum acceptance threshold of 50% plus one share, will offer 47.58 US dollars in cash per share. The company said the offer represents a roughly 34% premium on Delivery Hero's 3-month volume-weighted average share price prior to the takeover announcement. Shares in Delivery Hero, which closed at 38.18 euros, were up around 5.7% in pre-market trading in Frankfurt, but dipped shortly after opening and were trading down about 1%.
Hungarian President Thomas Suyok says in a statement that he has signed a constitutional amendment passed by Prime Minister Peter Magyar's ruling Tisza party that ends his term as head of state.
The legislation was part of Magyar's drive to dismantle former Prime Minister Viktor Orban's bastions of power, for which Magyar says he received a strong mandate from voters after ousting the right-wing leader in an April election landslide. The amendment will end Sulyok's term immediately, citing society's serious loss of confidence in a leader elected in early 2024 by lawmakers from Orban's Fidesz party. Sulyok said he had no choice but to rubber-stamp the legislation as it respected the letter of law. However, the former Constitutional Court judge warned the reform has harmed the rule of law in Hungary. Since ousting Orban in April, Magyar has repeatedly called on Sulyok to step down, accusing him of failing to represent national unity on major issues and of serving the interests of Orban and his government. Sulyok has so far resisted pressure to step down.
British media reports that Chelsea are set to sign Aston Villa's England midfielder Morgan Rogers on a 6-year contract for $157 million, a record transfer fee for the West London side after the Premier League clubs agreed a deal.
Rogers, who can play as a winger or attacking midfielder, will complete his medical at Chelsea on Monday, the reports added, ending a 2-year spell at Villa that culminated into a Europa League triumph. Chelsea, whose previous record signing was the 115 million British pounds paid for Ecuador midfielder Moises Caicedo in 2023, beat English champions Arsenal in the race for the 23-year-old. Rogers, who joined Villa in 2024 from Middlesbrough, made his England debut in November that year. He provided the assist for Anthony Gordon's goal in England's 2-1 World Cup semi-final loss to Argentina. In the Europa League final against Freiburg, he provided the assist for Villa's first and scored the third in a 3-0 win, helping them to their first major European trophy since 1982.
Mexico City residents and visitors enjoys the last days of one of the most important private collections of Mexican art as it prepares to depart for a European tour amid the heritage debate.
Since it opened on February 17th, the exhibition, Modern Stories, Emblematic Works from the Gelman Santander collection, has attracted over 310,000 visitors to the Museo de Arte Moderno in the Mexican capital. The exhibition showcases an art collection assembled by Mexican film producers Jacques Gelman and his wife, art collector Natasha Gelman, and features 68 works by key 20th century Mexican artists, including Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera, Rufino Tamayo, and Maria Izquierdo. In January 2026, Spanish bank Santander announced an agreement to exhibit pieces from the collection over several years, sparking a debate over their ownership. The works had not been shown in Mexico in 2 decades. Critics say the dispute stems from the fact that part of the collection, which includes pieces declared artistic monuments and legally protected by the Mexican government, was bought by private owners in 2023 with a bank loan and later pledged as collateral to Santander. After pressure from artists and collectives, the government announced the works will return to Mexico in 2028. However, critics point to a leaked agreement among cultural authorities, Santander, and the owners that sets an initial 5-year term abroad, renewable indefinitely with no cap specified.
That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.